Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Keeping up with Keela, keeping up with Keela B, keeping up with Keela baby. It does not matter what you call it, but just make sure you keeping up with me, okay? So today I am back with kind of like a story time. It's kind of like a horror story to me, and really like an eye-opener. So I'm really not gonna waste any time. I'm just gonna get right into it. So for the people that know me like outside of YouTube and in real life, they know that I was in school to be like an LPN, and that is a licensed practical nurse. And I have a relationship with one of my professors. We have a relationship outside of school, and she reached out to me out of the blue. I hadn't really talked to her in a while, and she was telling me like she works at this facility. She's a nurse practitioner for this facility, and they really need nurses. Like, she made it seem to me that they really had a big shortage of nurses. And so she was saying like she really wanted me to work there. She really wanted me to start. And I was kind of just like, hold on, you know, slow down a little bit, because I don't even have my license yet. But see, the thing with nursing is, if you a new grad nurse, you can work on a temporary license. And I was trying to really explain to her like, I can't take my NCLEX until February, because with the restrictions with COVID, and you know, you can't have so many people in a room now. You know, you can't have so many people close together. It makes it so, you know, you got to get a far out date sometimes. And she was like, it's okay, because the DON, she's taking like new grads. If your license is pending, it's okay. And this is going to actually help you, you know, when you go to take your boards, because things are going to click versus you just constantly reading things, you know. And I was just explaining to her all the anxieties that I had, and she was just trying to reassure me like, it is okay. I'm gonna be there, you know, whatever you don't know, I'm gonna help you with, like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, you know. And so I was telling her like, okay, well, first, you know, tell me the name of the place, you know, so I can look it up. I want to see what the drive is like, you know, things of that nature. So come to find out, this place was kind of like 50 minutes away from me. It was damn near an hour. And I live in the Chicagoland area. So if you know anything about Chicago, this place was in the west suburbs and I'm in the south suburbs. So it's not even like a straight shot. You know, you gotta go on several different expressways to get to this facility. And I was trying to explain that to her, and she was saying, well, you know, you travel far from school, far to go to school. This is no different. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, it is different, because it's different when you going to school and you kind of tired versus when you go to work and you get off work and you really tired and you have to drive almost an hour home. That's a different type of tired. So I told her, basically I agreed to go to the place and check the place out. You know, she was going to give me a tour of the place. So I told my friend about the opportunity, because I felt like it would be a good opportunity, you know, to check the place out and see what they had to offer. So my friend came up there with me. We met each other up there. And really already I began to notice like some red flags. And we saw one of our other classmates up there, and I seen she was getting interviewed like in the lobby waiting area. And for me, I'm like, okay, that's very informal. That's very informal. I don't like that. Already I didn't like that, because me, I'm coming in, I got an interview, I have my questions ready. Like, that was just weird to me. So we up there, we in the lobby, you know, we told the lady who we was waiting to see. My professor gets there and we go into a room. So I'm like, okay. So it's me, my professor, my friend, and the DON comes in. And I'm like, okay. So we're talking a little bit, and I'm trying to ask little questions here and there, like normal conversation. But it's kind of weird because I already kind of felt like my professor should not have been in there. My friend should not have been in there. It should have been a one-on-one thing. And it kind of seemed like the DON was busy, you know, like she needed to go do things. So we're talking and things like that. And for me already, what I do for work, I run a restaurant. Like, it's a family business, you know, but I run a restaurant in the Chicago area. And, you know, I'm talking to the DON, and she's asking me, like, when could I start? And I'm like, well, I need a couple of days to think about it because, you know, where I work now, I don't want to burn bridges. And when I said I need a couple of days to think about it, the expression that my professor had was as if she was appalled. It was as if she was shocked. It was as if she couldn't believe that I said that I needed a couple of days to think about it. But I tried to brush it off. I couldn't believe she did that. So I was explaining to the DON that, you know, I wanted to end things properly where I work now, you know, in the event that I chose to work there. Because when I work there, I want to be fully dedicated. And my professor just blurted out like, you work for your dad. And I was speechless because I could not believe that she said that. As if that's not important. As if it's not a real job. Because what I do is very much so a real job, real responsibility, and actually very stressful at times. So I tried to just really brush it off, but I couldn't believe she was acting in such a way. You know, it really blew me. It really blew me. So the DON said something along the lines of like she had to go do something. So I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst interview I ever had. So I was trying to tell my professor, like, I have questions that I still need answers to, you know. And she was just like, oh, well, you could meet with her daughter. Because it was like a family ran and operated nursing home. So I'm like, okay. And she was like, well, let me show you guys around. Let me give you guys a tour. And I'm like, all right. So when we were putting our personal belongings down, it was a code blue. So if you know anything about a code blue is when like a person stops breathing and they need CPR. So my professor was like, come on, you guys. We about to see a code blue. And the thing is, everybody was kind of calm. You know, I don't know if it's like maybe a nurse thing where you should remain calm, but I don't know. It was just a calm thing. And so, you know, they were doing CPR on a person and we were able to see that. And I guess for me, I didn't expect that to happen just by me visiting. But the truth of the matter is, I do know that in the healthcare field, people do die, unfortunately. And that's something that can't happen. So that happens. And then she shows us the place. And what I noticed right off the bat was the vibe of the other people, the employees there. It had to have been one lady that was there that I felt was friendly. No, maybe it was two ladies that were there that were friendly. But the other nurses, really, they acted stank. They really acted stank. You know, they were not friendly. And I'm just like, okay, I observed that. So that happened. And then, you know, we went to a patient's room and I was talking to one of the nurses and I said, well, how many patients do you actually have? And she told me that she has 30 patients. And I'm like, well, that's a lot of patients. But I remember that the DON told me like it's different for different floors because some nurses have 12 patients. So I'm like, okay, 12 patients, that's more doable than 30, you know. And maybe for me, with me just being a new nurse, they'll start me off on like with the easier load. So when the tour was said and done, I decided to fill out an application. And before I filled out an application, I pulled the DON's daughter to the side. And I was like, you know, I just want to ask you some questions because I have questions that went unanswered during the interview process. And so I pulled out a piece of paper, and I don't know if maybe I was doing too much or what, but I was asking her questions, and then she asked me like, so what, are you doing an interview or something? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing an interview. But, you know, if I'm working at a facility, I just want to know these things before I fully sign on for this responsibility. And she answered my questions, but she really made it seem like she didn't want to. You know, she kept, like, she was like in a rush, and she kept making it seem like, you know, well, all this stuff is in the employee handbook. You know, and it's like, well, you give me this book to read, but yet you want me to fill out all this paperwork, but you don't want to engage in conversation with me and answer my questions. No. You know, and it kind of seemed like she really didn't even know the stuff anyway. So we filling out the paperwork and things of that nature. And while I'm filling out the paperwork, I could hear the DON in the office saying, "This is bullshit." And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then I heard her say like, I need to go Christmas shopping. I need to go Christmas shopping. And I'm like, okay, I just act like I didn't hear it. And then I heard the lady at the front desk on the phone scheduling an appointment with the doctor saying she needs to see a doctor because she has a yeast infection. And I'm like, okay, this is unprofessional. So I'm filling out the paper, and some of the stuff I didn't fill out because I didn't know what it was. And, you know, there was one sheet about a hepatitis B vaccine that I didn't fill out. It was a hepatitis B vaccine sheet that said I would get the vaccine and one that said I declined. So I filled out the one that said I would get the vaccine because I'm thinking like, well, if I'm going to be around all these people, then I should go ahead and get the vaccine. And then the one that said I declined, I didn't fill that out. And, you know, we were going through the paperwork, and she was saying like, you need to sign this. And I was asking her like, well, why would I sign that, declining it, if I said that I would get it? And she was like really acting like I was getting on her nerve, you know, or maybe she just didn't know, you know. And she was just like talking to me in a condescending way, you know. She just said like, well, it's proper protocol. So I went ahead and signed it. And she was just doing nitpicky things like, did you sign right here? Because it looks like you scrabble. Bitch, you really don't know who I am. But I'm like, you know, just really actually, girl, Keela, humble yourself, bitch, okay? So, you know, I just felt like she really was talking down to me a lot, and she really didn't want to answer my questions. So when it was all said and done, she said to me, she was asking me like, do I have my license? And I was explaining to her the situation, like I can't really get into the testing center like that, you know? And she said to me like, well, we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch with you about when you can start and how much your pay is going to be. So I just flat out asked her, oh, so the pay is not $28? Because that's what my professor told me. Because I told her, like, you know, I was referred by such and such. I'm not going to say her name for confidentiality reasons. And she was like, well, that's the pay for the people with the license, but you don't have yours yet. And she blinked like that, blinking at me. Blinking. Look at Maddie, my dog, looking at me like, Keela, you crazy. And I said, oh, okay. So I put on my clothes and my coat, and I proceeded to leave, you know. And then she was trying to have small talk with me, you know what I'm saying? Like, happy holidays. But it's like, girl, I know your type. And then she wasn't the same color as me, honey. You know that song, Brown Skin Girl by Beyonce? You see, that's me. I'm a variation of a brown skin girl. That wasn't her. And I felt that. I felt that. And, you know, I just left. And I just felt like, honey, I'm too good for this place. And I guess, you know, the takeaway from this story is what I want all my nurses to know is you got to know your worth. Like, yeah, you a new nurse. And everything is totally different from textbook. That's what I think. Because you could read stuff all day, but when you actually doing it, it's different. But at the same time, you know, you bring a lot to the table. You don't have to just settle for, like, mistreatment. And you don't have to settle for, like, the first place that comes available, especially if people trying to treat you wrong. You got to always remember, they need you. Yes, you need a job, but they need you. You have the heart for this. You have the compassion for this. You are an amazing person. You are great. You beautiful. You strong. Like, they need you to make their facility better. So I chucked the deuces. And that was that on that, you know. And she was saying like it was some training that I needed to do online. Deuces. I didn't do that because actually y'all don't deserve a girl like me. Okay? And then if it ain't $28, no way. I ain't going all the way out to about Maywood. Okay? And I don't need to be sharing my location. But I'm not going all the way out there. I just thought that it'd be good for me. Maybe 1 or 2 days to get my feet wet. But baby girl, honey, know your worth. It's something better out there. Even if you gotta wait a while. Just wait it out. It'll come. It really will come to you. But, you know, that's my story time for today. And I hope y'all had a happy holiday, a Merry Christmas. I hope y'all have a Happy New Year. And I love y'all dearly. Bye.